will be covering the obligatory parts of Salat. Okay? So, Arkān Salat is for everyone else here. Furūḍ Salat is for the Ḥanafī. Just the word is a little bit different, but the meaning carries the same. These are the obligatory parts of Salat. If any part is missing, that rak'ah is invalid. If any part is missing, that rak'ah is what? Invalid. So, if I make star, it is for the Ḥanafī. If I don't put star, it's for the rest of us. Does that make sense? So anyone here who is Ḥanafī, Ghilman follows the madhab of Ḥanafī, Arsalan is following the madhab of Ḥanafī, and the rest of us are going to be looking for not, if it doesn't have star and I'm putting it in order, it's also for. So some of the things are going to come together. Us and Ḥanafī madhab, we're going to be joining together. Okay, does that make sense? So everything I'm going to be writing, all of us have to write. Does that make sense? All of us. For us, it's going to be about 14. And all 14 we're going to be writing. For the rest of them, it's going to be less than 14. So, we were talking about intention. Nawaitu farda salatul isha. Right? So, arba'a raka'at. Arba'a raka'at. Lillahi ta'ala. Right? So in English it means I intend to pray the obligatory Isha Salat, which is 4 rak'ah for Allah alone. You don't say it loudly. Where's the place of intention, we said? In your heart. So that means you have to be conscious. You cannot just come, Allahu Akbar. You don't even know what you said. You don't even know what you're praying. You're just in auto zone, like autopilot. Like, someone who has been auto-programmed. Allah doesn't want like that. He wants people who are present, conscious of what they're doing. That is the purpose of intention. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 2. This is where they will join us. Qiyam. Star. Number 2 is what? Qiyam. What is Qiyam? Qiyam means you have to stand up to pray. You cannot pray sitting. You have to what?
Stand up to pray.
Stand up to pray. You cannot sit. Absolutely. Does that make sense?
But I see some like older people like sit on chairs and...
No. You have to stand up to pray.
I see
Okay?
them doing that.
Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. The only time you are allowed to sit is when you are not capable. When you are not capable. For example, you became old, your legs, if you were to astaghfirullah and go down, you cannot come up without the support of anyone, and now nobody can help you go down, up and down, or you are in the hospital bed, then you're allowed to sit. But all of us are in that condition? No. So that means when a person, Salat comes and he's in the car, is he allowed to sit and pray in the car? Exactly. Why? Because he can park and he can get out and pray somewhere where he's able to stand up, because there's no way that Allah is going to say, oh, he's driving, he's in the car, astaghfirullah. Does that make sense? Same thing when we are in the airplane. Are we allowed to sit and pray? No. Qiyam. Again, because we are capable of praying a place in the airplane, standing. Does that make sense? Same thing in the boat when we are traveling. Unless we are in a state of war and we are in the battlefield. And subhanallah, that's a whole different style of praying. And we're going to talk about the praying in the battlefield. But now, Qiyam, it is a mandatory part. Does that make sense? Everybody? Then the next part is Takbiratul Ihram. We call it, let's just say, the opening takbir. The opening takbir. This one doesn't have a start. The opening takbir has to be done in Arabic and has to be said properly. Allahu Akbar. So for example, Hakim, he comes and the Imam is in ruku' and he wants to catch that rak'ah. He cannot just come and go straight Allahu Akbar. That rak'ah doesn't count. He has to go through the process. So the first part is he makes intention first what he's praying. So let's just say he made his intention. He came for Isha Salat. He already knew that he was coming for Isha Salat. So the first one is fulfilled. Then the second one is fulfilled because he's praying standing. He's not praying chair. But what did he miss? The opening takbir. So the opening takbir, he has to say it like this. Allahu Akbar. Wait for a moment. And then he has to say another Allahu Akbar to go to the ruku'. But what do many people do? The Imam is in ruku'. Allahu Akbar. They just go straight to the ruku' with one takbir. So which one did they miss? This one. So they made the second takbir, which was to go to the ruku'. Does that make sense? So that rak'ah, he thinks now he caught it because mashallah, he went to the ruku' and he caught the ruku'. But that rak'ah is invalid. Why is it invalid? Zubair? Why is it invalid? He didn't make the opening takbir. Does that make sense now? How many people have been praying like this, missing the opening takbir? Does that make sense? So from now on, we have to do the opening takbir. Next one is reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. And this parenthesis is for the Hanafi, and a portion and small portion and of Quran. For us, this part. Okay? This is when you're praying alone for the Hanafis. Okay? If you're praying with the Jama'ah, the qira'at of the Imam is sufficient for you guys. You understand? If you're praying and I am leading, whatever I recite is enough. But if you're praying alone at home, you must recite Surah Al-Fatiha. The rest of us, whether I am leading or anybody else is leading, you still have to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Does that make sense? Zubair, understood properly? Whether I am leading, he's leading, your Surah Al-Fatiha, even if I recite Surah Al-Fatiha, you still have to do what? Recite Surah Al-Fatiha, exactly. But the other part of the Quran, whatever I recite is sufficient for the rest of the people who are praying behind the Imam. Does that make sense? But Surah Al-Fatiha, the Fatiha of the Imam, Abbas, and your Fatiha is still old. Does that make sense? You still need to recite.
What is that?
So Surah Al-Fatiha then is what? Important, and you have to learn how to recite properly. If you don't know how to recite Surah Al-Fatiha properly, then every rak'ah that you're going to be praying is going to be what? Ruined. Does that make sense? In the beginning, when a person is new in Islam, the first thing that we need to teach them is that it's very important that we need to speed them up to learn this part. Yes.
So we only have to do it when we're alone.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you have to do it also in the last two rak'ah when the Imam is quiet.
Okay, so then the small portion of Quran.
when you're alone. Does that make sense? But Surah Al-Fatiha, you will have to do it
When do you say the small one?
when you're alone. Like for example, you're praying Maghrib by yourself.
No, I meant what stand.
The first two. Like for example, Fajr Salat, the first two. Dhuhr Salat, the first two. Maghrib, the first two. Isha, the first two. The first 2 units.
Oh, so the standing and then the ruku.
No, when you're standing, the first 2 rak'ah, you recite Surah Al-Fatiha and another surah. Like Inna a'tinaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka wal abtar. And then the second rak'ah, you recite Fatiha and Qul huwallahu ahad. Does that make sense?
I didn't really do that, but yeah.
Yes. So the first 2 in each rak'ah. That's where you will recite a small portion of that. But every rak'ah you will have to recite what? Fatiha. Every rak'ah. Does that make sense for all of us? Yes? Yes. Does that make sense? Am I blocking you? Okay.
I'm still writing.
Okay, sorry. I'm trying to write too. So, the next one is for us, Surah Al-Fatiha is important, okay? That there is few letters that we have to pronounce it correctly. Sad, ihdina as-sirat, Sad, ihdina as-sirat, Ta, Ta, ihdina as-sirat, Ta. We cannot say ihdina as-sirat, Ta, right? And then ضاد غير المغضوب and ولا الضالين. Okay, and then there is few shaddas that we need to be very mindful. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Does that make sense? And pronouncing the ha instead of like ha, we cannot say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim because you're changing the whole meaning. That is why reciting Surah Al-Fatiha is very, very important, and reciting clearly is more important. Does that make sense? Alright. Huh? Yeah, everybody. They have to recite it correctly. Alright. The next one is for all of us. Number 5. Ruku. Bowing down. Bowing down. Ruku. Okay? Ruku. The next one, there's no star for Ḥanafī on the next one. Rising from ruku. Rising straight. Rising up. From ruku. If we miss any of this, we will have to repeat from where we remember. So let's just say, for example, I went and recited ruku', but instead of going to this place of rising up, I went straight to sujood. Now, my rak'ah is incomplete because I missed one pillar. I went from ruku' to sujood. I have to go back up and repeat that rak'ah correctly. Does that make sense? You guys understand?
Yeah.
Huh? What did you say? I'm so sorry. Sujood? Sujood, right? No, it's bowing down. That's the next one. Next one is sujood. Yes. Prostrating, I think that's how you spell prostrating. Okay? The next one is what? Sujood.
I'm getting blocked.
Who's blocking you? Sorry.
I wonder who. It's definitely not Shaykh Bazi.
It is him.
Oh, he doesn't get the joke yet. Okay.
So in the ruku' and sujood, it's very important. So ruku', this is how it's done. So I finished Fatiha, I was like this. So I have to raise my hand up. Not Hanafi, the rest of us. Okay? I have to raise my hand up. I say Allahu Akbar. And then I go down. I try my utmost best to make my back here straight, aligned. The best way to do. Look at my toes. Allahu Akbar. My palms straight like this, not like that, not like this, like this. See how it's spread on my knees? Not like this, not here, not here, on my knees.
Oh, so basically it's the aura part.
Exactly. Does that make sense? And then I'm looking on my toes. Okay. Sujood now, I have to make sujood from 7 parts. This forehead to the nose, that's 1, like this, you see, over here.
Yeah.
2 palms, how many is that? 1 plus 2? 3. 2 knees, how many is that? 5. 2 toes? 7. You understand? 7 parts I have to make sujood. So the way to make sujood is when you're rising up from ruku'. So here's ruku'. I rose up. Sami'a Allahu liman hamida. Rabbana lakal hamd. Right? And then now I'm going to sujood. First thing I put down is not my hands, is my knees. My toes is already facing the Qibla. You see? So how many do I have so far? 4. 2 knees and the toes are facing. So what's missing? Now I put my hands, all fingers closed, facing, not spread. In the ruku' I spread it. In the sujood I close it. So, and then, now how many I have? 6. What's missing? This part. And for men, I have to, my armpits over here has to be open.
Yeah, they don't have to touch.
You see? If the place is too tight, I have to be thoughtful of the person left or right. So in that situation, I can go like this. But if it's open, then I go and I open it. Do you guys see it? So all that 7 parts is obligatory in the
What's the
sujood.
7 parts?
All that 7 parts is what?
Obligatory.
It's very important. So how many people then do I see in sujood?
Their elbows are touching the floor.
How many people do I see in sujood? Astaghfirullah alayhi.
What is even that?
Right? And they've been praying like that. So now,
Who puts their elbows on the ground?
for the sister, it's just a little bit different. So instead of bringing your elbows out, you bring your elbows in. Instead of, the way I make for the man, it is better to go like this. But for the girl, it's better to come close in. Because her body is, what did I say?
Different.
No. Her body is, what did I say?
Aura.
Alright, your body is private. Do you remember? So you bring it in. Same thing also in ruku'. You out of modesty, you don't go like that or stretch. Does that make sense? Out of modesty, you keep in. Does that make sense? Okay. So let me see. Testing time. What are the 7 parts of sujood that we have to do, Arsalan? What is? Prostrating. No, Arsalan.
I don't even know.
Okay, Okay, can I do it now?
So who was I teaching right now? Like I just went through the whole sujood right now. That's why I'm testing you to see if you're paying attention to me. Arsalan. So you're not paying attention to me.
I was.
Okay, let me see if Zubair can help you.
Eh,
Zubair, what are the 7 parts of the sujood?
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
now I remember.
Don't be anxious. Okay. Don't be anxious. Okay. Yes, your palms, right? So repeat now, all of 7.
Hands,
Okay.
knees,
Okay.
forehead,
Okay.
nose,
Okay.
toes.
Exactly. So do you guys understand? And demonstrate where you put your palms on the ruku'. Yes? How do you put... No, ruku', sorry. Ruku'. When you're making ruku'. Bowing down. Good. Not like this, which many people do. Or like this. Right? Simple. This part has to be... You see how straight it is?
Yeah.
You see it? Okay. Ruku. Okay. The next place is, for all of us, except Hanafi, it is the sitting.
What? I'm getting blocked.
Between the 2 sujoods.
Huh?
Don't worry.
Between the 2
It's not hard.
Yeah, it's not ours.
sujoods. Do you guys know what that sitting is? So how many sujoods do we have in each rak'ah? 2. In each rak'ah we have 2 sujoods. So we come from up, we go 1 sujood. And then this sitting, where we sit for a moment. And we say normally a small dua that the Prophet ﷺ was heard saying, Rabbi ghfirli warhamni, or whichever other dua you can say. We sit there like this, and then we go back to sujood.
I'll do my dua of sleep.
Do you guys understand? Huh? So in this place, normally people ask special du'as, du'as like for forgiveness, du'as of mercy, du'as for your parents, but it has to be very short because the span is not long sitting. Yeah? So that is mandatory. Okay. The next.
So the Hanafi don't have to say the dua of sleep or the dua of the dua of the Prophet or any of those.
No, they do.
Oh, okay.
The next one is number 9. Now we are talking about the last rak'ah, the final sitting. The final sitting.
What?
And then number 10,
Why is a star?
the final tashahhud.
Oh my god. What is a star?
Oh, okay.
The final tashahhud. What is tashahhud? When you are reciting at-tahiyyatu, okay? That is mandatory. You have to pronounce it correctly too. At-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawat. You guys understand? Wherever the shadda is, Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu, okay? Then,
7.
That's oh, as in Prophet was.
salawat upon the Prophet.
I'm again blocked.
Salawat upon the
Prophet.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. That is mandatory in the last tashahhud only, not the first tashahhud. How many tashahhuds do we do in 4 rak'ah? 2. So the last one, before you say Assalamu alaikum, you have to say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama salli. You guys understand? Without that, the salat, that you have to repeat that rak'ah. Number 12.
Oh no, I'm so.
When do the more get their empire?
Number 12. Let's see if we can do it here. Taslim. What is taslim? Saying Assalamu alaikum one time properly, not Assalamu alaikum, but Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Is that supposed to be for Hanafi?
Right? Yes. So, do you guys understand?
Wait,
As
so
a-
then why didn't you
No,
start it?
no, I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna put a start. Give me 1 second. So,
Oh no.
number 13 is being in a state of stillness
I'm blocked. Can't see.
for a moment in all the position,
Tasleem.
in standing,
T-A-S-H.
bowing,
No, not H. T-A-S-L-E.
sitting, rising,
No, not H, not H. L. Here, you can have my eraser.
so that's number
It's
13.
a-
Stillness means, like for example,
It's an L.
if you are playing like a chicken pecking some grains,
No,
like this,
not
Allahu Akbar,
the
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar,
Not the
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That's salat. So, when I go to ruku', I have to be in a stillness for a moment, even to say one Subhana Rabbiyal Azim.
Hey.
When I come to Sami Allahu liman hamida, I have to be in a state of stillness, even for a small portion for me to say Sami Allahu liman hamida. Does that make sense? When I go to sujood, I have to be in a stillness, even for one Subhana Rabbiyal A'la.
And then, yeah, 11.
If that moment of stillness is not there, that salat is invalid. How many of us, when we pray our sunnah, I see, and I look at my clock, it doesn't even last 1 minute. How fast we pray. It was literally up and down, poof, 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 like as if you are in a race with
That was
against your
faster.
own self.
That was faster than
Does
the
that make
one-
sense?
That was faster than the
Huh?
one guy.
I'm blocked.
That was faster
And
than that
Number
was,
14 for us is
that was faster than the one guy who did
doing all this,
who did the Ṣalāh
Doing
for
it.
the Prophet.
doing it in the correct sequence. Doing it in the correct what? Sequence. You cannot basically do it in the way that you want to do it. Does that make sense? You have to do it the way that Allah has ordered it, not how you want it. So, stars that I missed.
Yeah.
You hear?
Okay.
Taslim. Taslim is Assalamu alaikum. And being in a state of calmness and not rushing. Were you able to capture everything? Sorry.
I couldn't capture everything.
Let me come out from here so you can capture. Okay, there we go. Okay. So now we are quickly, before I close it, any questions on this 14 parts? Yes?
I forgot.
So, yes?
Can you send me a picture?
Yes, the picture is going to be right there. So,
Yeah?
any questions? No? So, yes, Zubair. And in which part? When you're standing or where? Oh, yes. Yes, but that is not the mandatory. The mandatory part is the toes that is facing the Qibla. Does that make sense? Huh? The ankles will not be facing the Qibla. It's facing this way. But the toes has to be facing the Qibla. Does that make sense? Some people have problem. They have gout. Like many Malaysians or people, they have problem with that and they cannot do it, and you will see some of them because of that pain they will make their toes sleep, but that's not the normal. But because they are in pain, they're allowed. And now many Muslims, unfortunately, they do that regularly. So the toes has to be like that. And the sitting, we will come to the sunnah part of the salat. Most of the sitting has to be like this. Does that make sense? And the final sitting has to be like this, where the leg crosses and the people will know that the imam is in his final rak'ah. Does that make sense? So, have you guys been praying with these 14 pillars properly?
No.
Okay. So now that we know that, good. The rest of us, if somehow, some way, we haven't, now we know, now there's no excuse for why we are not allowed. Because if any of them is missing, that rak'ah becomes invalid. If that rak'ah becomes invalid, that salat is invalid. Because, for example, if one rak'ah is missing one of this, that rak'ah has to be repeated. It's not something that you can say, okay, I can skip, and then at the end I will just make the forgetful 2 sujuds and make that sujood. Does that make sense? Those 2 sujuds will not be able to make up one obligatory act. You understand, Abdullah? Yes? The forgetful sujood is for a different purpose, which we will come. And next class, inshallah ta'ala, if Allah brings us together on next Wednesday, we're going to talk about the actions that break salat. Just like we talked about the actions that break wudu. Because there are actions that break salat that we do a lot of times and we don't even realize it, and we still think that our salat is still valid. With this, inshallah ta'ala, we will conclude our lesson of fiqh today, and then inshallah we can get ready for Isha. For you and I, we can maybe we don't have enough time to do Quran. So last time
Can I do my hair?
no, we don't have enough time. So last time one of you was supposed to be making adhan. So which one is going to go first, Abbas or Abdullah? Okay, me and you, we're going to be practicing. You want to go now? Okay, me and you are going to be doing that, inshallah ta'ala, as a learning practice. And then we can close this gate. And you want me to turn that on, or you would like without it? Okay, I'll turn it on. Okay. Okay. Abdullah, you're going to be making the